Regardless, the report is now here. It has dropped, and it might not have produced everything of what some Republicans hoped for. It is, regardless, devastating to the FBI, and to a degree, it does exonerate Donald Trump.
Huh. To a degree? To a degree. I mean, it's completely, totally pig fecal matter. To a degree. I mean, it's a partial turd, you know, a degree of one. They've got to clarify it. I mean, oh, but wait a minute before you guys, I mean, to a degree. No, it's like all the degrees. Welcome back to the program. Dana Loesch here with you. I mean, they lied to you. They lied to you, they lied to you, they lied to you. I've got a lot more audio here. I mean, there's just so much. Can I just play audio soundbite 4? Do you remember when Barack Obama promised? He said, no, I can guarantee you there's been absolutely no election meddling. There's been no influence in any investigation at all. None at all. This was towards the end of his presidential term when there were already suspicions that people were trying to get involved with this. Audio soundbite 4. Listen to this.
Ability to carry out her duties.
Mr. President, when you say what you've just said, when Josh Earnest said, as he did, your spokesman, in January, the information from the Justice Department is she's not a target, some people, I think, are worried whether or not the decision, whether or not how to handle the case will be made on political grounds, not legal grounds. Can you guarantee to the American people, can you direct the Justice Department to say Hillary Clinton will be treated as the evidence goes, she will not be in any way protected?
I can guarantee that. And I can guarantee that not because I give Attorney General Lynch a directive. That is institutionally how we have always operated. I do not talk to the Attorney General about pending investigations. I do not talk to FBI directors about pending investigations.
He looks too smug.
We have a strict line and always have maintained it, previous presidents.
Just to button this up.
I guarantee it.
He's getting mad at
I guarantee that there is no political influence in any investigation conducted by the Justice Department or the FBI, not just in this case, but in any case.
And she will
but in any.
Period.
And she will be treated no differently.
Guaranteed, full stop. Nobody gets treated differently when it comes to the Justice Department because nobody is above the law.
Oh, nobody does. Nobody does, he says. It did. It aged like milk. It aged like Madonna. Oh, sorry, wait. Oh, that's harsh. Is that, I didn't mean to say. Shh, brain, be quiet. I don't believe him. I didn't believe him then, and I have all the evidence in the world to continue not. Because as we've seen, that wasn't the case. I mean, I'm just reading, what page is this? 95. Let me just read you a little teensy paragraph from the Durham report, okay? A little teeny little bit. Quote, the general counsel at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., Sussman provided Baker, now remember these are James Baker, Michael Sussman, with the purported data and white papers that allegedly demonstrated a covert communications channel between the Trump organization and a Russia-based bank, Alpha Bank. Now, sidebar, you guys remember all of this, right? Do you remember the New York Times breathlessly screeching about Alpha Bank? Right. This is this whole story. So back to the PDF. Quote, Sussman's billing records reflect that he was regularly billing the Clinton campaign for his work on the Alpha Bank allegations. Importantly, on July 29, 2016, 3 days after the purported approval of the Clinton plan intelligence, Michael Sussman and Mark Elias, the general counsel to the Clinton campaign, met with Fusion GPS personnel in Elias's office at Perkins Coie. Sussman billed his time in this meeting to the Clinton campaign under the category General Political Advice. Thereafter, on July 31st, 2016, Sussman billed the Clinton campaign for 24 minutes with a billing description, quote, communications with Mark Elias regarding server issue, end quote. In compiling and disseminating the Alpha Bank allegations, Sussman consistently met and communicated with Elias. They were working on this Alpha Bank story. And it gets into how they were pushing the New York Times to publish this article titled, Investigating Donald Trump, FBI Sees No Clear Link to Russia, They were trying to, this was the same day that it published, they were trying to push them to run a counter story. This secret channel between the Trump organization and Alpha Bank. So they were trying to say, wait a minute, you ran your story prematurely. Wait, here's this, look. And the article alleged that the FBI spent all this time examining computer data showing an odd stream of activity to a Trump organization server. And the New York Times conveniently had been provided computer logs that evidenced this alleged activity. But they said that the article noted that the FBI actually never found really any kind of conclusive or direct link, but they ran with it anyway. And on the same date, Slate published an article titled, quote, was a Trump server communicating with Russia? And it literally had all of the allegations that Sussman had secretly provided to the FBI. Oh my gosh. And then you had David Korn over at Mother Jones. And then they referenced the Slate piece on Alpha Bank. All of this stuff that Fusion GPS had been pushing out there, all of the quote unquote free press was turning it over. They were giddy. These people are so damn zealous. They never stopped at all to say, wait, hold up. Why is an entity that actually is a foreign lobbyist? Because Fusion GPS, if you remember, was hired by Russian oligarchs to lobby against the Magnitsky Act. Now, the Magnitsky Act had to do with a guy who blew the whistle on Russian embezzlement, and they killed him. And so they wanted to punish these Russian oligarchs, and they were able to do so. And Fusion GPS was hired to lobby against, to have all of this. The word escapes me. To all of the penalties that had been meted out, to have those removed, sanctioned. They had them sanctioned, and so they were trying to get the sanctions lifted. And so Fusion GPS was actually working on behalf of these Russian oligarchs, lobbying against the Magnitsky Act, but they weren't registered as foreign agents. The same thing that Paul Manafort got busted for. Fusion GPS never did. That's the entity that was working with the Clinton campaign, and that's one of the reasons why they were able to get all this Russian stuff. So anyway, back to this thing. These journalists never stopped to ask any of these questions. It was all about pushing the accusation. This reminds me, like I said, they were using the Democrat Party's LBJ pig blinker strategy. Now, if you're unfamiliar with that, back during the presidential campaign of 1972, Hunter S. Thompson he had a serialized account. He traveled with the campaigns and was writing about the account, and it was published in Rolling Stone per issue called Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 72. And he relayed a story from the Johnson campaign. And it said this, quote, "This was one of the oldest and most effective tricks in politics. Every hack in the business has used it in times of trouble, and it's even been elevated to the level of political mythology in a story about one of Lyndon Johnson's early campaigns in Texas. The race was close. Johnson was getting worried. Finally, he told his campaign manager to start a massive rumor campaign about his opponent's lifelong habit of enjoying carnal knowledge of his barnyard sows. The campaign manager protested, 'My gosh, we can't get away with calling him a pig blinker. No one's going to believe a thing like that.' 'I know,' Johnson replied, 'but let's make the SOB deny it.'" End quote. They just needed to make this accusation of outlandish impropriety and then just build it from there. That was the whole point. And so they created these two camps of people, particularly within the press. The people who hated Trump so much that it was nearly tangible in its ferocity, right? People who figured he could have done these things, so why not believe that he did? Their hatred of him could justify all sorts of things. I mean, when you tell someone, "Oh my gosh, this guy's Hitler, he's Hitler." Well, hell, who doesn't hate Hitler? I mean, except maybe for Hitler, but he's dead. But you know what I mean? Yeah, you're going to believe that they're capable of all kinds of things. And you want to believe that they've also done evil things because you hate them. No one ever wants to feel, when you're talking about Trump here, no one ever wants to feel that they're the bad person or they're the one coming up short because they can't justify their hatred. So they hated the guy. They couldn't really justify it. So then they sort of got the cart and the horse in backwards order. Then they decided, well, this makes me just hate him more. See? Things that they would not have believed in the first place had they not hated him so damn much. So it's this vicious cycle. So that was the one camp. Why not believe that he did it? And then you have the people who knew he hadn't done these things of which he was accused. But why not play on the hatred of the dumb people who hate him anyway? Because their hatred, which extended far beyond general policy dislike, into some kind of irrational realm that would predispose them to believe literally any accusation made. So they played them. You have the people who got played and then the people who played them. And there were definitely enough reporters to facilitate this for the DNC. And the DNC was fined for it, don't forget, along with the Clinton campaign, because they weren't honest about how they were spending their cash. The press, their partisan zealotry suffocated any investigative instinct. It suffocated any kind of curiosity. That, to me, that's the death of the free press. Because it shouldn't matter what the politics of the person involved was. You had government entities that were leaking information and weaponizing different agencies to punish someone because of their politics. And there was no evidentiary basis at all whatsoever for them to do what they did. So they tried to launder discredited oppo in the press to substantiate, to justify getting these surveillance warrants on people in the Trump campaign. And the free press never once stopped and asked about, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Because for them, it became about personality and not the office. For them, it became about personality and not the structure of the republic. They lost sight of their original purpose. These people drove a dagger in the heart of a free press more than any tyrant could have ever done. They themselves discredited themselves with the American public. Trump didn't do it. Trump could have never hurt them this bad. No one could ever hurt someone as badly as someone can hurt themselves. And that's exactly what the press did here. The free press will never recover from this. It's dead. The idea of this watchdog for the people has been so thoroughly destroyed, it will never return. And it makes me infuriated because it is one of the most important institutions in a republic. People have to have a place to go where they can get information. But everybody's an activist today. Everybody's an activist. Everybody wants to be known for something. Everybody wants to have a byline. Everyone's a fame whore. You have a nation full of fame whores. A nation full of activists. A nation full of Z-list politicians who want to start podcasts. You have a nation full of people who are desperate to be contributors. You have a nation full of people who are desperate to be that one person that kicks off the story. They're so thirsty for it. It's the United States of me. And look what it's doing to the institution. People are forgetting their purpose. It should terrify the press. It should terrify people that you had these huge entities, these government agencies that were running away with zero accountability, freely weaponizing the tools at hand that they are supposed to use to protect the people that they're targeting, all in the name of attaining more power. The press should be saying, we are reporting on behalf of the people, on behalf of them. We're watching this institution. We see these pillars crumbling. Because a smart person would say, it doesn't matter who's in the elected office. A smart person would say, if we're allowing them to do this now, what are we allowing to potentially be done to ourselves in the future? A smart person would see and be a little selfish in how they view this and see, wow, if this is used against people I dislike, what's to stop it from being used against me when my ideology is out of power? They never once thought about this. In some ways, they don't care about self-preservation. They're willing to sacrifice any chance at future protections to do what? To be a stepping stone for these people? I just don't get it. These sycophants? I do not understand a press that are such sycophants that they're willing to not only sacrifice the sanctity and security of the republic, but they're willing to debase themselves in the process. I mean, look at these people. There's a list. The Federalist published a list. Chris Steele, you have Maggie Haberman at New York Times, Paul Krugman, New York Times, Michelle Goldberg, New York Times, Malcolm Nance, MSNBC, John McLaughlin, former CIA acting director. But you have all of these, Greg Gordon, McClatchy, Peter Stowe, McClatchy, Jason Leopold, BuzzFeed, Anthony Cormier, BuzzFeed, Luke Harding, Dan Collins, The Guardian, Gloria Borger, CNN, Manu Rajuk, CNN, Ken Delaney, NBC, Chris Matthews, Oliver Darcy, CNN, Joe Scarborough, MSNBC, Chris Hayes, MSNBC, David Corn, MSNBC, Joy Reid, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, all of these people, Tom Nichols over at The Atlantic, all of these people, Jennifer Rubin, WAPO. I mean, oh my gosh. What do people have such low self-esteem and such an absence of self-respect that they're willing to debase themselves to be nothing more than a political whore?